If money could drop bars, Dr. Dre's would rhyme in platinum. Because when you go from a kid in Compton dodging sirens to a billionaire who probably needs Google Maps just to find all his properties, that's not a success story. That's a cinematic universe. Let's be honest. If hip-hop had a Mount Rushmore, Dre wouldn't be carved in stone. He'd be 3D printed in titanium, wearing diamond-encrusted Beats headphones, probably charging admission just to look at him. But how did we get here? From turntables to private jets, from mixing tracks to mixing nine-figure deals. Buckle up, because Dre's billionaire journey isn't just rich, it's ridiculous. Before the mansions, before the Malibu sunsets, there was just the sound. Raw, rebellious, revolutionary. Back in the 80s, while most of America was dancing to pop, Dre was engineering the soundtrack of a generation that didn't care to be polite. He and NWA didn't just break the rules, they threw the rule book into the studio fire and recorded the crackle. Straight Outta Compton wasn't an album. It was an earthquake. Dre wasn't just producing beats, he was producing an era. But genius doesn't stay underground for long. And Dre? He was about to go from shaking up the streets to shaking up the entire music industry. Then came The Chronic. The album that made hip-hop smell like success and sound like smoke. Every track slapped so hard it could have come with a parental advisory for your speakers. The Chronic wasn't just Dre's debut, it was a blueprint. It turned G-Funk into a movement, sold millions, and still earns him royalties fatter than your favorite rapper's ego. In 2023, Dre sold part of his catalog for $200 million. Yeah, nostalgia just outperformed half the stock market. But Dre's secret sauce isn't just music, it's vision. While everyone else was counting fans, Dre was counting future empires. Now picture 2006. Headphones were boring, beige, and about as fashionable as a fax machine. Enter Dre and his partner in crime, Jimmy Iovine. They looked at those nerdy cans and said, "Nah, let's make audio drip." Beats by Dre dropped like a bass line from heaven. Suddenly, everyone from LeBron to Kim K had a pair. They weren't just headphones, they were a flex. Then Apple showed up, waving $3 billion like a VIP pass. Dre's cut? Around $620 million. That deal didn't just make him hip-hop's first tech billionaire, it made him the highest-paid musician in history. Most folks would retire after that, buy a yacht, and vanish into sunset mode. Dre? He said, "Cool story, but I still got empires to build." That's where Aftermath Entertainment comes in, the launch pad for legends. Without Dre, there's no Eminem, no 50 Cent, probably no Kendrick Lamar either. He didn't just sign artists, he minted icons. Every platinum plaque on their wall meant another bag for Dre's accountant. While most execs were chasing trends, Dre was the trend. And once you've made billions off sound, what's next? Simple. Start living like your beats sound. Loud, flawless, and larger than life. Because when Dr. Dre spends, he doesn't buy, he builds kingdoms. Mansions, supercars, yachts, jets. His version of Monopoly isn't played with fake money, it's played with real square footage. So if you thought Dre's rise was wild, wait till you see where he parks his success. Coming up next, we're stepping inside the billionaire lifestyle that makes Tony Stark look like he's still on a payment plan. Let's start where Dre's money likes to stretch its legs: real estate. Because when you've got billionaire next to your name, your home isn't a place, it's a power statement with a roof. While most of us are searching Zillow for apartments near downtown with free parking, Dre's out here buying land that becomes the downtown. He's not house hunting, he's empire collecting. One of his first serious flexes? A French-style estate tucked deep in Woodland Hills, California. And when I say estate, don't picture a big house with a pool. Picture 16,000 square feet of architectural ego, 8 bedrooms, 13 bathrooms, and a driveway so long you could probably rent scooters just to reach the front door. Inside, it's all luxury with a PhD. Grand living spaces, marble everywhere, a 250-bottle wine cellar, and appliances that look like NASA designed them. Oh, and for fun, a 150-gallon saltwater fish tank inside the game room. Because regular aquariums are for people who still compare gas prices. Out back sits an Olympic-sized pool, a fire pit perfect for late-night mogul chats, and a bar that's probably seen more business deals than most boardrooms. Dre eventually sold this beauty for $4.5 million, not because he had to, but because he probably ran out of new ways to be impressed by it. But Dre doesn't move into a new place. He levels up into it. Which brings us to Calabasas, Celebrity Central. $6 million. In 2018, Dre dropped another cool $5 million on a mansion that looks like a modern art museum with better Wi-Fi. Think sweeping hillside views, a spa bathroom that could host a yoga retreat, and a private movie theater that makes AMC look like your high school auditorium. The place has 2 walk-in closets, because obviously, one isn't enough for a man whose wardrobe budget could fund a small indie film. There's also an 8-car garage, which sounds excessive until you realize Dre's car collection could outflex a luxury dealership. Resort-style pool? Check sports court? Check custom pizza oven? Absolutely. Because even billionaires need carbs. They just prefer them baked in Italian marble. Dre flipped this property for $6 million in 2023. Because yes, even his homes make money while sitting still. But let's turn the dial all the way up. Malibu, Carbon Beach, also known as Billionaire's Beach. In 2000, Dre spent $4.8 million on an oceanfront masterpiece that basically lets him roll out of bed and into the Pacific. The 8,800 square foot property has 6 bedrooms, 7 bathrooms, floor-to-ceiling glass walls, and a private recording studio. Because when inspiration hits, Dre doesn't book studio time, he owns the studio. And because Dre operates on a different frequency, the place even comes with its own private staircase leading straight onto the sand. Need to clear your head? Take a stroll along the ocean. Need to host a dinner party? The sunset's already RSVP'd. Dre later listed this home for $20 million in 2022. Proof that his taste in real estate isn't just luxurious, it's profitable. Now, if his mansions are castles, his cars are royal chariots with horsepower. Dre's garage isn't a collection. It's a curated art gallery on wheels. Front and center, the Cadillac Escalade. A vehicle so big and bold, it doesn't drive. It arrives. Under the hood, a 6.2-liter V8 engine that pumps out 420 horsepower. Inside, leather, ambient lighting, and a sound system so crisp it probably made Beethoven jealous. Then there's the Chrysler 300S. Sleek, understated, but with the soul of a muscle car. Dre also keeps a Lincoln Town car for when he wants to go full billionaire incognito. But the crown jewel? A 2012 Rolls-Royce Phantom drophead coupe, handcrafted, V12 engine, and doors that open like a royal decree. When Dre steps out of that, the pavement practically curtsies. And if land is too crowded for his taste, Dre takes to the sea. Because when you're that rich, you don't rent yachts. You command them. His floating fortress, the Naya, is a 240-foot super yacht worth around $60 million. Designed by the Mark Berryman Design Studio, it's got 8 luxury suites, bamboo interiors, a jacuzzi the size of a swimming pool, and, because why not, a 5-person submarine. And here's the best part. Dre doesn't even need to use it to make money. He rents it out for $580,000 per week. That's right. While we're debating whether to splurge on a beach vacation, Dre's making $500,000 just by not using his boat. But what's the point of owning a floating mansion if you can't arrive in style? Enter the Airbus H-155 helicopter, Dre's personal airborne penthouse worth $14 million. It's sleek, it's quiet, and it's so luxurious it could make first class cry. And when he needs to cross continents, he reportedly charters, or possibly owns, a Gulfstream 5 jet. Translation: 6,500 nautical miles of uninterrupted billionaire privacy. A single hour in the air costs about $10,000. But when you're Dre, time isn't money. Time is leverage. And yet, despite the jets, yachts, and garages full of horsepower, it's the details that reveal just how deep his wealth runs. Like his $140,000 platinum Rolex masterpiece day date. Or that time he gifted Rick Ross a $100,000 hub lot. Most people give birthday cards. Dre gives equity on a wristband. Now that's just the lifestyle flex. But the real power move? How Dre's money works while he sleeps. Now here's where things get spicy, and because Dre's wealth isn't just parked in garages or docked off Malibu. It works out harder than most people at the gym. The man doesn't just spend money, he trains it to multiply. See, after the Beats by Dre deal, most folks would have called it a day. Maybe buy an island, get a tan, release one last greatest hits album. Dre? Nah. He treated that $620 million payday like seed money for another round of empire building. Because Dre doesn't retire, he reinvests. Aftermath Entertainment, his label, became a launchpad for generational wealth. Every Eminem tour, every 50 Cent stream, every Kendrick verse keeps funneling checks back to Dre's doorstep. His royalty statements probably read like a small country's GDP report. But it doesn't stop with music. Dre went from producing beats to producing brands. In recent years, he's teamed up again with his longtime business partner, Snoop Dogg, to launch Gin and Juice by Dre and Snoop and Still Gin. Luxury spirits that taste like success and marketing genius mixed on the rocks. These aren't just liquor bottles, they're cultural artifacts. Each one screams, "I made it, and I'll drink to that." Analysts predict those ventures could be worth hundreds of millions in the next decade. Why? Because Dre doesn't sell products, he sells presence. You're not just buying a drink, you're buying bragging rights in liquid form. And then there's The Defiant Ones, his HBO docuseries with Jimmy Iovine. It's not just a documentary, it's a masterclass in branding disguised as storytelling. That project didn't just win awards, it reintroduced Dre to a new generation as both a mogul and a mentor. The man turned his own biography into a business strategy. And if you thought that was impressive, wait till you see how Dre moves behind the scenes. He invests in startups, tech ventures, and media companies like he's drafting a fantasy team for billionaires. The difference? His roster wins. Every single quarter, even his YouTube Vevo channel still rakes in millions from classic hits. Nearly 1 billion total views equals roughly $6 million in ad revenue. That's passive income so powerful, it should come with its own hype track. Add streaming royalties from Apple Music, Spotify, and licensing deals. Dre's legacy basically pays for his legacy. But the beauty of it all? He doesn't chase attention. While today's celebs are oversharing breakfast photos for clout, Dre posts silence, and the internet still listens. He's mastered the art of mystery. The man disappears for a year, then reappears with something world-shifting. When most influencers shout for attention, Dre whispers, and the world turns up the volume. That's billionaire behavior, when your absence has more presence than most people's presence. And let's talk strategy. Dre doesn't make random moves. Every play connects. His business philosophy is basically, if it doesn't add zeros or build legacy, it's noise. That's why even his partnerships feel surgical. Apple didn't just buy his company, they bought his cool. That brand synergy turned Dre from musician to tech icon, from rapper to billionaire innovator. Meanwhile, Dre's lifestyle still screams luxury, but his approach screams discipline. During his divorce with Nicole Young, court documents revealed he was spending $2.2 million a month. Yeah, a month, on his personal lifestyle. But even that number is deceptive, because while most people saw excess, Dre saw operating costs. $13,000 on household supplies, probably includes gold-plated detergent, $70,000 on clothes, wardrobe investments, $645,000 on entertainment and gifts, networking budget. Everything he does, even indulgence, feeds the brand. He's not living recklessly, he's living strategically outrageous. And yet, beneath all the commas in his bank account, there's something deeper. Dre's wealth is flashy, but his mindset is surgical. He doesn't just want to be remembered for making money, he wants to be remembered for making moves. He's building schools, mentoring young creators, funding programs that blend music and tech. The Compton kid who made it never forgot where he came from. He just upgraded the soundtrack. That's the secret sauce, not just success, but sustainability. Dre's empire isn't a one-hit wonder. It's a continuous remix. Every decade, he reinvents his sound, his image, his investments. He's not chasing trends, he's engineering them. While others copy, Dre patents the blueprint. And maybe that's why in 2025 his net worth isn't just a number. It's a narrative. It's not about the yachts or watches. It's about turning raw creativity into generational power. Because Dre figured out the ultimate cheat code. Stay unpredictable, stay unavailable, and stay unapologetically excellent. When you think about it, Dre's life isn't just rich. It's a masterclass in modern empire building. From Compton chaos to Silicon Valley boardrooms, from cassette tapes to tech stocks, the man transformed sound into currency and vision into infrastructure. So the next time you hear that smooth Dre tag, yeah, just know that's not a sound effect. That's a trademark, a declaration, a billionaire whispering, still here, still winning. But before you think this is just about business brilliance and luxury jets, remember, even billionaires bleed. And Dre's road to greatness wasn't all gold records and champagne sunsets. He's fought battles that money couldn't fix. And what he overcame might be even more impressive than what he bought. See, every empire has its scars. And Dre's journey, for all its billion-dollar shine, came with moments that nearly broke him. Because behind every platinum plaque and private jet, there's a man who's had to rebuild again and again. Dre became a father at just 16. While most teens were figuring out high school crushes, he was figuring out parenthood. His first son, Curtis, who later rapped under the name Hood Surgeon, was just the beginning of a complicated, deeply human legacy. Over the years, Dre's family grew, but so did the weight of fame. And in 2008, that weight turned tragic when his son, Andre Young Jr., passed away from a drug overdose at only 20 years old. That kind of loss doesn't just bruise the soul, it detonates it. But Dre didn't spiral. He turned pain into perspective, channeling it into focus, discipline, and work. Because that's Dre's pattern. He doesn't crumble, he creates. And then came 2021, when Dre faced one of his most terrifying battles yet. A brain aneurysm that landed him in intensive care. The world watched, fans prayed, billionaires called. And while everyone was ready to write his eulogy, Dre was busy doing what he always does, surviving the impossible. He walked out of that hospital a few weeks later, stronger, quieter, and sharper than ever. Because that's the thing about Dre. Even when life hits him with the hardest beat, he finds the rhythm. His 25-year marriage to Nicole Young ended that same year. A divorce that made global headlines and reportedly cost him over $100 million. Most people would call that a downfall. Dre, he called it Tuesday, because losing money doesn't scare a man who knows how to make it back before breakfast. What's wild is that through all the chaos, Dre never played the victim. He just evolved. Each hit, personal or professional, became another remix in the soundtrack of his life. That's why in 2025, Dre isn't just a billionaire. He's a symbol of endurance. He's still producing, still investing, still shaping the sound and the business of tomorrow. His ventures in tech, music, and media are growing faster than ever, and he's quietly funding new generations of creators through scholarships and studio programs. The same kid who once hustled through Compton noise is now building platforms for others to be heard. That's not just a glow-up. That's poetic symmetry. And let's be real, Dre could retire tomorrow, disappear to a private island, and live the rest of his life floating on his yacht eating gold-dusted cereal. But that's not his style. He's not chasing comfort, he's chasing impact. For Dre, legacy isn't about trophies or mansions. It's about building something that echoes long after the music stops. Even in silence, Dre moves with rhythm. Even in luxury, he hustles like he's still hungry. Because success, to him, isn't the destination. It's the beat that never stops. Think about it. This is a man who started with turntables in Compton and ended up negotiating billion-dollar deals in Cupertino. He turned rebellion into rhythm. He turned struggle into sound. And he turned sound into an empire so massive, it's hard to tell where the music ends and the money begins. That's not luck. That's engineering. Visionary precision disguised as swagger. So yeah, you can envy the mansions, the supercars, the yachts, the jets, and the watches. But the real flex is mindset. The ability to take pain, pressure, and poverty and remix it into power. To build something that outlives the noise. Because Dr. Dre isn't just a rapper, producer, or entrepreneur, he's the architect of modern hustle culture. Proof that you can start with nothing but a dream, a sound, and a refusal to quit, and end up rewriting the definition of wealth itself. And maybe that's why, even in 2025, his name still hits different. He's not chasing trends, he is the trend. Every artist he touched, every deal he signed, every sound he invented, it's all part of a legacy that's bigger than music, bigger than business, and louder than time. So the next time you hear that signature Dre tag, that smooth, confident, yeah, just know it's not a catchphrase. It's a declaration. It's history humming through speakers. It's a billionaire reminding the world, I built this beat, and I'm still in control. And if this deep dive into Dr. Dre's billionaire world hit harder than a West Coast bass line, don't just ghost the vibe, hit that like button. Drop a comment on what part of Dre's journey blew your mind the most. Was it the mansions, the business plays, the resilience? And make sure you're subscribed because we're just getting started. Next episode, we're pulling back the curtain on another mogul who turned hustle into heritage. You won't just want to see it, you'll need to. Because in a world full of noise, only the boldest beats make history.